Good afternoon, sir. I am Paul Ladipo, a fifth-year medical student and the editor-in-chief of the KB Klub.
All right, good afternoon, sir. KV. My name is Mustafa Madi. I am a fifth-year dental student and the president of the KB Klub College of Medicine, University of Lagos. The KB Klub College of Medicine, University of Lagos is a social philanthropic organization of medical students in the College of Medicine, University of Lagos, focused on improving and building the perfect gentleman. Focused on building on the core ethos of philanthropy, academic excellence, and social empowerment. We see how we use our resources as medical students and as men who want to change the world, see how we can impact lives and communities near and beyond. Thank you.
So we are here today to interview the philanthropic cover face of the 2024 edition of Medical, themed Kaizen. So before we begin, let me briefly introduce our distinguished guest. Professor Butali is a globally recognized expert in craniofacial genetics and an alumnus of the College of Medicine, University of Lagos. He is currently a professor at the University of Iowa. He has conducted a lot and numerous groundbreaking research in the genetic causes of cleft and palate, impacting countless lives worldwide. Professor Butali is not only an academic, he is a research trailblazer and also a passionate mentor and philanthropist dedicated to empowering the next generation of healthcare leaders. He's a proud Life Kbite. He embodies the essence of Kaizen through his relentless pursuit of excellence and service. It's a privilege to have you with us here today, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
KV.
So, sir, before we get into the interview, we'd just like you to share insight into your upbringing in Lagos and also what led you to pursue dentistry and genetic epidemiology. Was there any pivotal moments during your education at the University of Lagos, sir?
Oh, great. So I was born at the Island Maternity Hospital in Lagos, and I grew up on the island for about 5 years before my parents moved to Sulere, and I continued my education on the island until primary 3, when I switched my school from 1004 Estate Nursery and Primary School to Atara Primary School in Sulere, and I continued from primary 4 in Sulere. And I finished my primary education in Sulere, then went to Jishatadu Boys Secondary School, still in Sulere, from first JSS1 to SS3. Then I got into Unilag for dentistry. Now, dentistry wasn't my first choice. Just like I heard yesterday from the conference, most people said dentistry chose them, and they wanted medicine. So that's my own case as well. I wanted to study medicine. But I got dentistry. But I knew dentistry from my first visit to the dentist at the military hospital when I had a toothache. I had a molar taken off when I was about 9 years old. So I knew who a dentist was, but I just didn't know how to study it. Yeah. So when I was offered, my father convinced me that dentists are also doctors, since I wanted to be a doctor. And for me, anything I do, I try to be at the top. I won't say the best because that's, common terminology. For me, I try to get to the top of it. Whether that is now defined as the best, again, is left for we to do the assessment. But personal assessment was the peak of that profession. I want to be at the top. So as soon as I got the admission, I just told myself, okay, let's find our way to the top. And that's what I did. And that mindset started from when I was in primary school. I wanted to be the best I could be. I had a challenge in primary school where I was very playful, and which was a turning moment in my life. I'm bringing it back. I was so playful that I was placed on trial to primary 6 from primary 5. My mom said never. My father said, he should go because, as a first son. My mom said no. How would this kind of smart guy be on trial to the next class? So she insisted that I should take the class again. But she now said, okay, well, if you're going to take that class, she was going to take me outside of the neighborhood. So that because I won't be that playful, so that I will go to a place where I have fewer friends. And that's what she did. And that really changed everything. And it was as if, it was a different world. Nobody saw me. I couldn't see anybody in front of me. I was just like going. So when I got to JSS1, what really, defined my moment in secondary school was integrated science. Nobody in that school has ever gotten 100. And the first exam, I got 100. Mr. Oloshinde, the teacher, said he should go and look for that. Who's that Butali? And that's how Butali became famous in the school, on the assembly ground. And Thereafter, the second exam became 100, and we just continued like that. Fast forward, SS1 to 3, we didn't have a physics teacher. So, not having a physics teacher is a big blow, but it's not uncommon in government schools in Lagos. But that wasn't a deterrent. I went to an evening lesson. I also got a physics teacher from my school. I spoke to my mom's friend, whose younger brother was a youth service corper that read mechanical engineering. I was able to convince him to be our physics teacher, and I went to meet the principal to hire him. Just show you how determined I am to. I could have gotten him as a private teacher, but I wanted all my classmates to benefit, right? And I got A1 in physics. Imagine not having a physics teacher and getting A1. And the A1 then is different from A1 now. But yeah, I did that. And then got into Medilag, for dentistry. The same defining moment, I wanted to be the best I could be. Year 1 at Akoka did as myself very well, but I also made sure my social life is well balanced, if you know me very well. Yeah. Even in secondary school, I was laboratory prefect. I was also going with the debating team to go debate, and I was on the science team to go do quiz competition. I did Mbridge. We won jets competition, national jets. That's how. So I was involved in science. I also a member of the dance team, cultural society in secondary school. I just wanted to enjoy my life. Fast forward, Medilag days. Akoka, all well and good. Went to all the welcome parties, all the concerts, but did very well in academics. Came to Medilag. Now, in Medilag, I wanted to really understand what was going on. So what I did was, if they said they had tutorials, I would go. And most of them I was cancelling them because they were not really meeting my needs. They were too confined. It was more or less tied to the religious bodies, whether you're Christian or Muslim. And that's not me. I am faithful. I worship God, but I don't want to follow any confined norm. Because, again, that will restrict the kind of person I am. I'm very free-minded. So I kept looking, and then I defined my own study pattern. No tutorials for me, but 2 hours in the morning code room, and that's it for the day. And every other thing is either I'm playing or I'm discussing. But my own 2 hours, 6 to 8, I did that from part 1 to final year. Wow. I didn't miss it. After doing that, and I've satisfied myself, and I'm, okay, where is socials? And that's where KB Club came in. KB Club came to the part 1 class, introduced, and I said, I like these guys then. My neighbor was Ojikutu, Hakim Ojikutu. And close to Fashinal, Life Kbite Fashinal. They lived in the same estate. Fashinal had introduced KB Club to him. So when they came to the class, I said, I like these people. He said, that his cousin, Fash, is one of the guys, and that's how they give us the form. I filled it, and I went for the interview. He asked me questions, and I told them exactly what I was just telling you guys about secondary school, social life, and all that. And academics, I was well balanced. And that's how I got into KB Club. And I was very engaged. I was curator, I became KB editor, then became viceroy. So all those 3 positions, I held them and I did the best I could. And defining moment in dental school was, so part 1 I did great, but part 2 I challenged myself that, what's wrong with you? Part 1 you didn't scatter, but I did, but it wasn't what I really wanted. But part 2, I wasn't taking it easy. So microbiology and parasitology, epidemiology, oral biology distinctions. Wow. So I just said, this guy, you're back. So because my academics, it wasn't suffering, but it wasn't where I wanted it to be. And then before you knew it, I started doing tutorials for my classmates. What I said I won't do. But instead of going for, people are now coming to my room for tutorials. Wow. So I was now organizing tutorials. At the same time, I was doing socials. I contested for odd chair, became odd chair, became vice odd chair. Then the odd chair was impeached. I became interim chair. Then I became KB Club editor. Then in part 5, that was 600 level. No, part 4, 500 level. I was vice president of KB Club. Then I was national secretary of the Dental Students Association, which was moribund. We registered it. And I got my sister to register us international commerce. That worked at the Gateway Bank. Yeah. And I made her pay £100 to take NADS back into the international community. Because for me, why would NADS play local when there was an international body? So we paid that. We couldn't raise the money. I spoke to my sister, she paid. I went to all the dental schools. There were only 4 dental schools then. I went to speak to them so that we can rejuvenate NAD and also strengthen their local organization, dental associations. And as the SecGen, I did all that. Now there's also this program, Defining Moments, so CODE. You guys still do CODE?
Yeah.
Now, CODE was only done at marketplaces and schools. I was the first person to develop a CODE strategy that we should go to trade fair.
Wow.
The trade fair complex to go do CODE at the trade fairs. And we did CODE at the trade fair in 1999 at Tavara Balewa Square.
Wow.
Nobody gave us any exhibition stand, but they allowed us to do it. As we were doing it, NTA came to interview us. And because it was my idea, my classmate pushed me forward. And I took the interview and I NTA interview is like 30 seconds. But in 30 seconds, I was able to sell. The next day, Lever Brothers came to meet us that they wanted to brand the CODE. That we should be doing CODE for them.
Lever Brothers.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those are kind of things, look for a problem, solve it, and then scale. And before I knew it, CODE was nationwide at all the trade fair complexes, so the exhibitions. Where people started doing CODE at the trade fair and became income for NADS.
Yes,
right?
Because people want to support.
Yeah. So that then came back, became also parliamentarian, finished from dental school, and went to do youth service at the General Hospital. And what changed my life forever was the first child I prepared for surgery, and the child had cleft lip and palate. Apart from the theory they teach us in school, I never saw a child with cleft lip and palate. So seeing that child, engaging with the family, preparing the child for surgery, passing the NG tube, wonderful experiences. So when I was looking for a grad program to go to for grad school abroad, I was looking for masters in public health. I got admitted to Nottingham University, but it was too expensive. So my friend now called me from the UK, said, Fatai Popola, who became KB editor as well. Life Kbite for Popola said, hey Buti, Scotland gives 2 years work permit after graduation. Check for schools in Scotland. So I just Googled postgraduate opportunities in Scotland. And the first topic that came, because then I was paying $100 to go to the cyber cafe to browse.
Wow.
So what you guys do on your phone, I was going to the cyber cafe. I don't know if you guys heard about the cyber cafe. You buy tickets for $100, you browse for 1 hour. Well, for 100 naira. Sorry, 100 naira. You browse for 1 hour. So I was investing 100 naira per day to browse because I wanted to. So that's how much investment. And I now found the topic. We're looking for someone from Sub-Saharan Africa at the WHO to go for a PhD program to look at the maternal lifestyle and nutrition in the etiology of cleft lip and palate.
Wow.
Cleft lip and palate. I was like, the patient I saw. And they only wanted a 1-page proposal. So I started with the story of the child. I wrote a little bit I went on the internet, checked about genetics, the courses. I just, summarized it a little. But the last 2 paragraphs, I wrote about what I was going to do with the training. And I said I was going to train others. And I was going to give back. And I was going to do advocacy for government to prioritize cleft lip and palate. And those statements came from my heart. I was just, and the panel selected me based on the true statements, not the other stories, the science. Because they knew we didn't know anything. So most of us went to the internet. But what was not on the internet were the 2 sentences I made or the 2 paragraphs I wrote. That's how I got into Scotland. And so it was supposed to be epidemiology of cleft lip and palate. But in 2007, as I was collecting samples and data, I was collecting data only for the epidemiology. My supervisor now asked me to start collecting samples. So I asked him, for what would they use these saliva samples for? He said, for genetics. I said, then how do they do it? He said, I'm going to ship the samples to the US, and our colleagues in the US will sequence them. And I'm like, can't I do it? Is it not a human being? He said, I wasn't trained to do things like that. But I said, okay, what do I need to get trained? He said, I needed at least theoretical knowledge, then get bench experience. And if you know about the human genome, it was completely sequenced around 0405.
Yeah.
And I started my PhD in 06. So human genetics was completely new.
There was nothing, nobody knew much.
Only, in the UK, only the University of Birmingham was offering a certificate program and now a degree in human genetics. So I had to go there to take that certificate program for 1 week, which was just introduction to genetic epidemiology. I took it, I got a certificate of attendance, sent the email to my supervisor, who was very impressed because he said, this guy. Now sent the certificate to the guy in the US, Jeff Murray, and Jeff was super impressed. Jeff said, okay, this guy is determined. We have to bring him to the US to learn to do his stuff himself. That's how I found myself in the US. Jeff gave me a 10-week scholarship to go to the US. And so I'm answering your other question about how I found it, because I'm putting it together, because if you break the story, you will enjoy it. And that's how I got into Jeff's lab, got trained, started showing interest, and I discovered the first genetic variant for cleft lip and palate in the African population. And it got published. And I was going to go back to the UK. I had already started doing my licensing exam, passed the first one, waiting for the second one. Jeff called me, said, dude, you have a future in research. Come back. And he offered me a postdoc. And that's how I found myself back in the US. And he offered me a postdoc training fellowship in craniofacial genetics. And that's how I started my career in craniofacial genetics in 2010. And I was postdoc with him for 2 years initially. But by the end of the first year, he told me that I should plan to become independent, meaning you're showing good promise, but instead of staying with me, you need to stand alone. And I got scared. He's like, no, I shouldn't get scared. That it feels I can do it. So he supported me, and I applied for my first grant, which was $1 million, to start the Butali lab on 31st of December, 2013. And that's what you're seeing today. All right.
KV, sir.
KV.
Very beautiful story, sir. Very beautiful story, sir. I'm really impressed by that, and I'm sure presidents will also.
Honestly, very wild.
Yeah, so and just about not giving up,
Pure grit.
taking opportunities, and be ready to fail, and then see what next, and that's it.
Pure grit.
Sir, okay, sir. So does this interview, does it bring back any fond memories of your time in the KB Club?
Yeah.
And what were some of the key memories and achievements you had during your time as the editor, as the viceroy?
So, good questions. The first one was I was one of the two people, just like you guys, but we didn't have a photographer or videographer, that went to interview Professor Ashiru for Medfield. If you see the Medfield 1999,
Yes.
so that was my draft, but I took Life Kbite with me, who then took over from me as KB editor when I moved on to become the vice president, a viceroy. So that's similar experience I've had interviewing. And in my tenure, that was when we brought back Medifield. It went into non-existence for a few years before our tenure, so we brought it back. And we made it more, at least the standard then, compared to now, is different. But what we brought back was different from what they had. So the gloss cover, I don't know if you saw that.
Yes.
So, and then through Professor Hashiru, we got a founder, someone to sponsor us, Evelyn Oputu, the first MD of Bank of Industry.
Okay, wow.
She used to be the MD of, what's it called? There's a merchant bank, IMB,
Okay,
International Merchant Bank. The glass house opposite Babbage. I don't know if you guys heard of glass house. So she used to be the MD, then she became the first MD of Bank of Industry. And she was one of the people that funded us to get the magazine ready. Professor Shield gave us a number, and I was the one that followed up with her. And I went to her house at Parkview.
Wow.
So all this one that you guys
Those moves.
yeah, I went there, and she took me as a son and introduced me to her son that was in the UK, because she was impressed that, medical students, you guys have time for things like this. So, and I met two senators at her house, and one of them happened to be a senator from my state, from my village actually.
Wow.
She introduced me, so Senator, your food, this is your brother. And I also met Mudashiru, the former governor of Lagos State, who is late now. I met people through her, and I also met I'm the former MD of Mobile,
Wow.
Nigeria. So,
Wow.
so, and again, all those moments inspired me as well. I just knew
Yes.
that, man,
Me too.
I must
get
become
to
successful. You know? And, you know, back to becoming viceroy, the essay competition,
Yes.
we brought it back again.
Oh.
So, because that one went away, but not for secondary school, it was for medical students. I don't know if you saw from the minutes and all that. We did that for medical students. We're supposed to get money from one of the Life Kbite. I don't know if it's Akinlui, but we did that as well, and we get the best medical essay competition. And the medical student that wrote the best, or dental student, one of them gave them the award as well. So those are my moments and my service years as Kbite, one of the officers of KB Klub. But the most interesting thing for me was, as a fresh Kbite, before even my induction, you're going to have a Christmas party. Life Kbite Fashioner said, we must make sure that this was going to be, you know, and the new Kbite were responsible. And knowing the kind of person I am, I made sure it was as, and they were surprised. They were like, and this fresh Kbite knew what to do. Because I was already organizing parties in secondary school, so I knew the DJs to call. I had a DJ for KB Klub. We used to call him KB DJ. And he DJed for us for 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah, he was in LASU. He was my secondary school classmate. I knew he was a good DJ, and I made sure I presented him to KB Klub, and we had him for 5 years all through my medical school. In fact, they call him KB DJ. When we did the 50th anniversary in 1999, I don't know if you guys were there.
No, 50th.
In 2019, sorry.
2019, no, I hadn't got.
Okay, the DJ, we had to bring him back to DJ. So that's just to tell you how much, you know, I put myself into KB Klub. And my wife attended most of our dinners with us because I met her in medical school as well. So I had a great time in KB Klub. And KB Klub, for me, was part of the foundation for some of the things I do now. Everything I told you guys, I'm still doing the same thing now, just at a different scale. I still do service, philanthropy. We're doing it back in school, right? What you guys are doing now, I'm doing it right now. I still organize programs. The essay competition for my community that we had 2 days ago, we're doing it in KB Klub, right?
Yes, sir.
So the research I'm doing now, I might not be doing research in KB Klub or in medical school, while research requires what? Tenacity, patience, ethical way of collecting data. Everything is part of the training. In KB Klub, you're supposed to be responsible, respectful, trustworthy, and all that. Everything is still part of what I'm doing today. Nobody's going to give you $1 million if they knew you're going to spend it and no rewards. So everything is still part of the foundation for medical school and KB Klub.
Very true, sir.
All right?
Very true, sir. Full circle moment, I might say for you, because if as the editor you had to do all of that running around to interview personalities for the magazine, also go around. So full circle moment, also a learning moment for myself as well. I'm sure as for the Kbites here, seeing how you talk about responsibility, understanding your goal as a student first of all, and then seeing how you can also impact your community. And that brings the next question. And the next question is to focus on, to ask what was that key moment, which I think you already mentioned, that made the transition from clinical dentistry to research in craniofacial genetics. Was there a moment where you paused to go back to clinical dentistry, or it was determined already craniofacial genetics and the African populations? Somehow you also mentioned about wanting to give back to through what the KB Klub does taught. So switching to craniofacial genetics and then focusing on the African populations, how did it become a decision for you, sir?
Good. So let me see. Let me see how I'm going to put this. So the focus, so going back to clinical dentistry never happened since I joined research. Not because I didn't want to. So if I had gone back to the UK, I would have gone to practice. But my mentor, that's why it's good to have a good mentor. He said, and I agree with him completely looking back now. He said, Azeez, you have a future in this research. And the momentum was there. And that's why I want us to listen sometimes to people that have seen beyond you. And I listened to him. And I took that opportunity, got my grant. Before I got my grant, I also wanted to do residency in oral maxillofacial radiology, and actually they accepted me. But there is this requirement that if you're going to be in residency training in the US, you must spend about 75% of your time in the clinical training, because oral maxillofacial radiology is clinical.
Yes.
So that's why if you see my department is oral pathology, radiology, and medicine, was because I was in that program. So the goal was you do the training and continue as faculty. So they already hired me into the faculty in that department. Yeah. So I'll just do the training. But my research grant came in, $1 million. I needed to start a new lab. It was going to be demanding. So I needed to make a decision. And that's how life is. You can't win everything. If I wanted to put everything in my chest, I was going to crash. So I had to make a very difficult decision. But it was a rewarding one. Now, and that will link up with the white African population. If I had done it like only the European and Asians, you won't hear Butali, because they were already established.
Established people in those fields.
My mentor was number one in the world, and most of his populations were Europeans and Asians. My mentor from UK was also number 2 or 3 in the world. He was already taking care of the Scottish population. The number 3 and 4 person in the world at that time, they already had people from South America and from Mexico. So the only population nobody touched at all was Africa. So for me to have a niche and to have my own identity, I focused on the African population. And that's how, and I broke my grounds there. And that's how I got to, I did what people do in their lifetime. I did that within 5 years. And I was able to break new grounds. And the African genome is so interesting that if you understand it, it will accelerate discovery. It has shorter, what we call haplotype blocks, so you can easily see what you're looking for within short distances. So haplotype blocks are regions that are inherited together. So you can easily see, because Africans, we have shorter ones. Europeans have a larger one, so to find something, you're going to struggle. So what it took them years to find, I was finding them in short period. So I discovered 2 new genes. In fact, now 3 genes.
That's amazing, sir.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, thank you very much, sir, for describing that pathway, and the focus on having a mentor, and also being able to listen, to understand that this person wants the best for you ultimately. So, in summary now, how have these experiences shaped you from University of Lagos, University of Dundee, in Scotland, and now University of Iowa? Are there? Can you summarize in few sentences the things that the journey, the experiences and lessons you've learned along the journey? You've given us some already. Then are there some experiences that you can just bring out from all of this?
So from my time at the University of Lagos, taught me about limited resources, maximum impact, and ability to give your best regardless of the limitations around you. And that prepared me for University of Dundee, because I never did research to the level that I was exposed to at the University of Dundee. The best I did for research was the oral pathology project, and you submit it as part for partial fulfillment of your BDS, right? Yes. And I did oral manifestation of HIV/AIDS. Okay. That was my topic, and I did as if my life depended on it, But that prepared me, because that told my supervisor that this guy can, if you train him, he can be well refined to do a better job. So I showed it to him. He laughed and he told me that no problem. So my first abstract, he told me it was bullshit, but he said that was going to be my worst, and he meant it, and I improved over time, because research requires a lot of writing.
Yes, sir.
Right, a lot of reading of literature. Then you come up with your questions, you collect your data, analyze your data, interpret your data, discuss your data in the light of what has been published before. I learned all that within 1 year. It was like a crash course, because they expected me to have done that as undergrad, because they train them like that. Yeah. So when you just come into grad school, your job is to do critical thinking. I was doing everything that people did in undergrad. Well, I did it. Yeah. Okay. And PhD is usually 4 years. I did it in 3 years and 9 months.
Wow.
Yeah, I just got it out of the way. If they were giving distinctions in PhD, I got a distinction. Till today, I'm the only Nigerian to have gotten a PhD from the dental school at the University of Dundee. Wow. It's a tough program, so people don't just go there.
Wow.
Yeah, till today.
Wow.
And I was the only black in the building when I was there. right? Now, Dundee, we call it the city of discovery. I discovered my research potential at the University of Dundee. Dundee, the city itself is called City of Discovery, and the university gives you the opportunity. And some of the things we're doing at the KB Klub, all this organization, they had what they call the Entrepreneurship Society, and all this, you guys are doing Stack to encourage startups. They had it intentional as part of the university program. So you can imagine if University of Lagos adopts Stack and puts it under Professor Azeez Center, and it will be student run, but that center, because they will have funding, they have it at the University of Dundee, and I joined it.
Wow.
I don't know what made me do, but I joined, and it helped me to understand how to bring entrepreneurship into research, and I used those knowledge and skills and opportunities. Then I survived Dundee and got to Iowa. When I got to Iowa, I made a decision that I wasn't going to be the only one in my career, in my field. And that's how I started the training program. So the grant I got, the money, I wrote back to the NIH that they should allow me to use some of the money to train. To train one PhD student is $200,000. I've done 8.
Wow.
6 of them have graduated, 2 of them are in the lab.
Wow.
And I still do visiting. I'm not even counting the visiting scholars that come, including Professor Deyama. He did his postdoc in my lab.
Wow.
Professor Hussein in Kano, Olaiton. So people have come to my lab but I put all that money inside my grant, and I made a case to the NIH that I cannot be the only one doing this on the continent of Africa. I need to build capacity, and they gave me the opportunity. And now I have an endowment, which is $2.5 million, and I'm using that for the dental students that come for research experience. So that's my Iowa experience. So you can see I've maximized every opportunity that came my way. That's just the lesson. And I'm still on that journey.
Still on the journey.
So let's talk more about your lab.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk more about your lab. So you said you've identified about 3 genes in your lab. So I want you to talk
No,
about
4 genes, but 3 for cleft.
Okay, 4 genes.
Yeah, the 4th one was for a dental phenotype. Yeah.
So I want you to discuss more about the discovery, sir.
So the discovery was using advanced molecular genetics approaches. So the first 2 genes, the first one I discovered was using whole exome sequencing, where you look at only the protein coding part of the genome, and we found the variant and the gene. Excuse me. The second and the third we found using genome-wide accession studies, where you compare the minor allele frequency in those that are affected versus those that are not affected, and you do the p-value. If the p-value is significant at 0.05 level for one SNP, then if you are looking at 2 million SNP across the genome, you need to correct for multiple testing. And that means the SNP that's going to be significant has to be less than 10 raised to minus 8. So doing that analysis, we found 2 SNPs in near 2 genes that we reported as new cleft candidate genes for cleft palate. Then the third one, we used an approach called whole genome sequencing, looking at the entire genome at the same time, 6 billion nucleotides. And we asked the question, are there variants that are new in the population but inherited from a parent by a child? And through that, we found a gene called afadin. And that was one of the PhD projects for Wahid Awotoye, which coordinated from my lab 2 years ago. And those are the 4 genes my lab have discovered. The 5th one, it's not a new gene. It was previously reported for cleft lip and palate using GWAS, but my lab was the first to show that it's involved in cleft palate only using whole exome sequencing. The gene is called AGAP29. But because someone had reported it for cleft and palate, I don't want to claim it as being the first, but being the first for cleft palate only, yes, my lab. But previously reported for cleft lip and palate, someone else did that. But in all, we've discovered 4 genes nobody knew before. Then we've more or less validated the 5th gene.
Wow.
So that was very brilliant, sir. That was very brilliant, sir. So you're also the director of African Craniofacial Anomalies Network. What are the primary objectives of this network, and how do you plan to enhance research, collaboration, and improve healthcare across Africa, sir?
Yeah, so everything I've been talking about, all the work I did, is through the network. So what's the network? What's the African? African is the African Craniofacial Anomalies Research Network, and it was established in 2012 through a planning grant from the Wellcome Trust and the NIH. And why did they do that? I started my work in Nigeria. The first genetic variant that I reported was samples collected from Nigeria, 108 samples. But I needed to scale and to expand. And you cannot use only one country to define Africa. Africa is very diverse. So I made a case to the Wellcome Trust. I went to their office, myself and Professor DMO. I went to do a presentation and we defended it. And they gave us £20,000 to expand to Ghana, Ethiopia. And then I got some money from NIH to expand to South Africa and Rwanda. And I got money from Small Train to also continue. And that's how we established African Craniofacial Anomalies Network, which is a network of collaborators in Africa between researchers and clinicians. So we invited everybody to Lagos in 2012. It was at the Protea Hotel. I brought everybody there when we had a meeting. And the goal was to train capacity, the primary goal. Train capacity. That's why everything I'm doing now aligns with the network. Train capacity, and they must be students from the continent. And I narrowed it down to dental students because of my bias.
Yeah.
And I narrowed it down to best students in each school because you must have a metric, otherwise it will be all commerce affair. So to make it easier for me, best students interested in research, I must be a dental student. So if you check the box, you be on the list. So that's one. Two, to be able to identify the genetic causes of cleft lip and palate on the continent using African samples. Three, to be able to translate the knowledge from the bench to the patient and to the community. And if you look at all the work I've been doing, they align with all those three. Those are the three main objectives of the network. And the fourth one is just to collaborate with others around the world.
Okay, sir. That is really brilliant. So focusing on training capacity, seeing how these discoveries can help from the bench, like you said, to the clinic, and as well then help communities as well. So at this juncture, through your experience and through your journey, are there any? And you already mentioned, I think, Professor Jeff Murray as one of your mentors. But then, what's your general overview on mentors? Are there any others that have shaped your journey? And then, currently you're a mentor to a lot of upcoming researchers, what is that one advice, or what is that advice you would give to upcoming, to future researchers in the field of epidemiology, or generally researchers coming up still in school or wanting to get into grad school?
Okay. So my parents were my first mentors, my father and my mother. My father believed in the power of education, that if you're educated, you are going to be successful. It's just going to be a matter of time. If you don't go to school, your chances of being successful is reduced by 50%. That's my father's philosophy. If you go to school, your chances of being successful is 100%. If you don't go to school, 50% chance, But if you go to school, 100% chance. But the only limiting factor will be time. But that time requires patience. So that's his philosophy. My mom, grit, resilience, I learned that from her. And my mom will tell you that if you make money today or if you're successful today, celebrate it today, tomorrow, look for a new challenge. And I learned that from my mom. So my first two mentors. Then in the university, I had great mentors. Late Professor Savage, she believed in me for so many reasons. She was a good mentor. Professor Belusi, she's also late, oral medicine. Professor Savage was Perio. Then Professor Kere Dolu, she was the first person to call me a professor in dental school. And that was because they gave us assignments, and my own assignment was to go read about and present guide planes. Everybody in the class thought guide planes were things you can touch.
Yes.
Well, I went to the library and I read 3 different textbooks, and I was able to show that guide planes are imaginary lines of insertion for dentures and removal. So what I did the PowerPoint and I drew it and I showed those breakdown. And when I presented it, she just said, "Professor Butali." And she was so excited. She took me to the clinic. She was telling people, so she told me, if you don't become a professor, you've cheated yourself because of the way I broke it down. And so until today, she still say, Tito disappoints me. So those are my university mentors. Then going to Scotland, Peter Mossey, fantastic mentor. Took me from Nigeria, never saw me, only read what I wrote. Took me, and through Peter I met Jeff. Till today, Peter is still my mentor. if I keep dragging me into international, I'm the co-chair for the epidemiology, prevention, and etiology task force for the International Cleft Congress. He and I are co-chairs. We're going to co-chair the Congress in Tokyo, Japan next year, October. And he's dragged me again to the WHO. I sit on neglected tropical disease, NORMA entities. I'm one of those working on NORMA etiology at the WHO level. At the global oral health level, he's dragged me again. I just finished my term as the group program chair. So he's, wonderful mentor. And he's still telling me, you're doing too much. Take time, relax yourself. The next day, we email me. I said, I'm so sorry, but I couldn't find someone because I knew if you take this, you do it well. So wonderful mentor. He keeps sponsoring me, dropping my name, and giving me opportunities. Then coming to the US, Jeff Murray, fantastic mentor. Jeff has produced over 200 professors.
Wow.
Jeff himself doesn't have a PhD, but he produced over 200 PhDs.
Wow.
Yeah, he only has an MD, but he did a fellowship.
Wow.
In genetics, and his own mentor was Arnold Mutuski, one of the fathers of medical genetics in the world. And they discovered the gene for the texture of hearing wax, whether it's hard or soft. The African hearing wax is soft, the Europeans is hard. So they discovered the gene that regulates the texture, and so many other genes.
Wow.
So Jeff produced over 200 PhDs. Jeff discovered the gene for Van der Voort syndrome, IRF6.
Wow.
Yeah. And he discovered the genes for cleft and palate through GWAS, the AGAP29. He discovered so many of the... If there were 100 genes, so today we know of about 500 genes.
Yes, sir.
But we know of about 25% causes of cleft. 20% came from Jeff's work.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how good he was. Then, after Jeff, another mentor of mine is Professor Adebowale Adeyemo. He's a director at the NHGRI. National Institute for Human Research, National Institute for Human Genomic Research at the NIH. Professor Adeyemo, I met him at a conference. I was the one that actually looked for him because I saw his abstract. He's a leading human geneticist from Africa. He did most of the genetics of type 2 diabetes. He found the first gene that contributes to type 2 diabetes in Africans and African Americans through GWAS, and it's functional. It affects insulin regulation, the gene he found. And he's my mentor. I actually approached him, and he's taught me how to look at the African genome critically. I told you it's a very difficult but interesting genome, but he taught me how to look at it. Then, fast forward, there's a lady called Mary Marazita. She's at Pittsburgh. I met her through Jeff Murray. She's the world leader in subclinical cleft palate, lip and palate phenotyping using 3D imaging technology, ultrasound of the lip, 3D of the face, and 2D photos of the lip. And I learned that from her, both Adeyemo, James, and then Adiola to Pittsburgh. They were trained. I also came to train them here. And that's how we have the first morphometric lab in sub-Saharan Africa at Luth.
Absolutely.
You know that lab?
Yes, correct.
That's how that lab came there.
Oh, okay.
That's an NIH funded $500,000
Wow.
to get that project set up since 2022. It's 2012, sorry. So that's then in 2018, Werner de Sousa, who is the current director for the National Institute of Dental and Craniofacial Research at the NIH, came to give a keynote just like I did yesterday. And after our talk, I approached her. Because in her resume, it showed that she was the president of IADR, she was president of AEDR, she was vice president of research at Utah State University. She was dean of a dental school twice. I was like, this woman is a scientific leader. And I was looking for a mentor in scientific leadership. All the other people were mentors in career and in science. But my plan, which is my next phase of my career, is to go into leadership, scientific leadership. Because right now, I'm becoming bored. I got to the peak of my career too early. So I need a new challenge. So I'm trying to get into leadership. So I approached her and I told her, and she said, why not? So she encouraged me and she gave me ideas of what to do, and she's been mentoring me. And that's why I went to Harvard.
Oh, yes.
So I don't know if you know, I went to Harvard. So the reason why I went to Harvard was to start getting paper qualification to show that I can be a leader. Experiential knowledge is there. I've taken positions. But the world, some people, if they don't see your paper, they cannot speak for you, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes when you apply, it's what you put on your resume they will see before they see the person. So you need to justify. So I went to Harvard Kennedy School of Public Policy, and I got a certificate in public leadership. I also knew that I needed to strengthen my strategy, so I went to the University of Oxford, and I got a certificate in executive strategy. Then, at the University of Iowa, I'm starting a leadership class next fall at the TP College of Business. And right now, I'm trying to convince my wife to allow me to go to law school. Yeah, I'm trying to get a law degree. So, not because I want to go to the court, because I want to use it for a different strategy. But it's all for that leadership, because by the time you become a leader, academic leadership is a tough place. It's slippery slope. It's like you're stepping on banana peels. You need so many background knowledge on how to lead. Some people are going to deliberately want to make you fail. So you need to be ready, and you have to be strategically intentional to be ready. So that's all everything I'm doing right now is for my next move, which will be announced soon.
Very soon.
But I went to that, so it gets me for the academic leadership. So that's for mentors. So I've transferred some of those knowledge and skills and experiences to my own students. So if you see my students, the outcome you're seeing, they are intentional. If you see me post them on LinkedIn, it's purely intentional. I do a lot of science communication, and I celebrate achievements of my students. I don't celebrate myself anymore.
Yeah.
And everything, no matter how small they do, I put them out there. Do you know why? I want people to critique them for them to be ready. Because I didn't get that kind of opportunity. What I'm giving them, I didn't get it. I got mine in a different way, but I'm giving them like 3x of what I got. And all of them are getting opportunities. And as they finish, they become professors. The young lady that finished in May, Abimbola, she's now a professor in Missouri. Carmen Buxo is professor in Puerto Rico. Lord Gawan's professor in Ghana. Mekonin professor in Addis Ababa. Tirunan professor in South Africa. Wahid is finishing up his residency in June, and July 1st is going to start his craniofacial fellowship at Children's Hospital of Los Angeles, CHLA. Azeez is at the NIH for his postdoc fellowship. Emmanuel is graduating in 2 years. I'm trying to get him into residency in oral surgery. Munji is graduating in 2 years. I've started negotiating for her to start residency in Peru. That's the strategy. That's why I do what I'm doing. All right, so I hope I've answered your questions.
So you've answered, and it's really beautiful how you're very intentional about other people. It's rare to see people very invested in the lives of other people. I mean, you already mentioned right from your first grant, seeing how you wanted to train other people, and then you just didn't end at training them, but seeing how they could also shape their own lives and strategy for yourself, for them as well. It's very, very brilliant, and I see all the celebrations of people you do. It is very heartwarming. I think I want to focus more on that later on. But then our next question was to ask about your how you link what exactly the goal of research is, and then how you link these findings from your research into clinical applications, and how they actually help improve healthcare outcomes, and what are the challenges that you have overcome in making sure that your research findings impact the lives of patients and communities.
Okay. So research is a patient enterprise. It's not a magic bullet. You don't just find something today, you see the results tomorrow. It doesn't work that way. But it's progressive as well. So my part of research is what we call the discovery. And discovery is the foundation for translation. So the part you are talking about is called translation, where you go to the clinic. But it takes a long time to get there. So to have very good clinical outcomes, your discovery must be super. So that's where I am in the discovery phase, and we've done so much. But because I'm a dentist, instead of waiting for the real time, the way people wait from basic science research to clinical, because I'm a dentist, some of the results I am getting, I have quickly taken them to the clinic because of my background in dentistry. I'm not waiting for the way they do it. And I'll give you examples. I have access to the entire genome of patients. Of each patient, I have access to the 6 billion nucleotide. And I'm looking for what causes clefts, right, in the family. But I also know that I can find what can cause breast cancer in that same genome because I have access to it. And it's called secondary finding or incidental finding. So what I've done is to screen to see, is it possible to find if this person has a risk for breast cancer or any other diseases like cardiovascular diseases or malignancies and all that. And I was able to find about 4.6% of the entire almost 800 individuals, about 280 families that we looked at, 4.6% have incidental findings that are actionable, meaning we can do something about them. One of them includes a child that has a risk for hereditary breast cancer. It means that child in a few years can develop breast cancer. And it was inherited from the mother. I can easily come to call the mother back to the clinic, can begin to counsel, begin to do some lifestyle changes to prevent the manifestation of cancer. So you can say I'm already taking, so I'm not waiting for the cleft part, I'm using the other part, right?
Yes, sir.
I've also taken advantage of asking patients what do they really want from us in terms of the results and what would they do with the results. And they told us they'll take you to the church and then the mosque for the pastors to pray and the imams. So I've taken my research to the imams and the pastors. I've started training them on how to educate patients to come back to the clinic. Right?
Yes.
And I've also, so when I was doing that, the imams and pastors told me that when the patients come, they come crying and depressed. Those are key words involved, psychiatry. So I called Professor Dr. Oshodi, child psychiatrist, and I called Professor Adeyemo. I said, let's develop a project called Mental Health of Caregivers of Children with Cleft, because these people are depressed, they're anxious. Psychiatric terminologists. And we developed a project, and we were able to show the evidence suggests that they have those conditions exist amongst them, but they don't say it out because nobody asked them. Then some of them, not all of them, had those outcomes. The ones that didn't have, why and how, and they told us how they were coping, resilience, what they were doing to get better. So we decided to say, okay, why don't we capture what is actually going on in their lives outside of the clinic? And in a project called Photo Voice, where you take a picture of images that represent what's going on in your life outside of the clinic. And when they sit in front of you in the clinic, they tend to tell you what you want to listen to. But if you tell them, just take a picture that will tell me what you're going through. Amazing. Over 70 pictures that they were brought to us in July. We did the analysis. And we now have a documentary. I have a documentary on YouTube telling those pictures, telling the life of the patient. And we have a photo book. We did a photo book for them. And they even did a photo exhibition at Luth, where they stood beside their pictures. We did a poster for them, and they presented. But we were able to learn that when they come together is when they feel better. Now we're beginning to develop peer groups, right?
Yes, sir.
And so the next phase, from what we learned from them, they've told us that their immediate family members stigmatize them. The community stigmatizes them and all that. So what we're doing is we're developing a training model that anyone that has a child with cleft will train the family members on how to accept the child and become an advocate for the child. One family at a time. We're doing that. That's a project that we're going to start maybe next year when we get funded. Another project is to train pastors and imams on how to give sermons that includes information to destigmatize cleft at the church and the mosque. Those are not things you do in the lab.
At all.
So that's how we've taken our work. You can see that, huh?
Exactly.
So that's what we're doing.
That's what the lab gives you. Thank you very much, sir.
So that's my first training in Dundee, my dental public health epidemiology training.
Yes.
Is what I'm now using now.
Yes.
Then the clinical part is my dentistry training. Then the genetics was what I got. So everything is still going.
Links beautifully.
So knowledge is not complete until it is applied.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Yes,
So
sir.
it's not about this guy can read, can fap. Is this fapping?
We still call it fap.
Fapping, you now put your legacy water in part 1 class so you don't sleep till the next day. It's not that. The best knowledge is the one that your patient will tell somebody about you, that when they came to meet you, you were able to explain to them what the problem was, told them what to do, and now they feel better. They don't know if you got distinction in school. All right?
So this is very brilliant. Like you give real practical healthcare solutions, and the solutions are even outside healthcare. You said you spoke to imams, spoke to religious leaders, you even spoke to the CMD to speak to the psychiatrists to create a program and everything. That was very, very brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
So we're in the age of AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and everything. So I want to know if you've been able to use that in genetics and genomics. And outside artificial intelligence and machine learning, what do you foresee as the next significant breakthroughs in understanding and treating craniofacial anomalies?
So machine learning, we use that almost every day to predict the implication of a variant. So we call it variant prediction, where we do simulation that if this variant is in this part of the protein, what will be the consequence? And we can predict that it will cause damages. So we can say probably damaging or possibly damaging. So we're already using AI to predict based on the amino acid properties and the conservation of the nucleotide in that region. Conservation means across species, evolution from the lowest animals to man. Is that nucleotide conserved? That means, is it present? If it's present, that means nature wants it to do something. That's why nature kept it across. So if you have a change, that change is critical, could affect. So we have tools, AI tools that can predict the effect before we now do the experiment to confirm if it's the same. Now, if I'm in the lab now, what we are doing now is we're trying to be ahead of the experiment such that we're developing, not only us, we're working with a group, we're developing AI tool that will predict what the lab experiment will show. So that we don't even need the lab experiment anymore. It's called alpha folding, which there will be change in thermal energy, the change in thermal energy, the fold will predict the severity of that variant. So we're working on that right now. So if a patient comes to the lab, if we just take sequence, we find the variant, we plug the variant into that algorithm, it will spit out. The clinician can use that information to treat the patient. So we're working towards that already. Now, in terms of the future for cleft lip and palate treatment, so the future is tough to answer that question because it depends on what kind of cleft you're talking about. If it's syndromic and it's one gene, then you could do prenatal surgery, you correct, or you could also do what is called CRISPR. If you only know one location, you change it. But the problem is non-syndromic is polygenic. That means you have so many genes. So which one do you change? So that's how challenging it is. So what we are trying to do now is to get at least majority of the information we need that can cause cleft. That's where the discovery, I said your discovery must be robust for your clinical outcomes to be very good. So if we understand the discovery very well, we can begin to, as soon as you plan to have a child, we can do a screen to say by the time you have this following variant, there's a likelihood this child will get cleft. And we can plan, so there's a corporate pregnancy planning. And if there are environmental factors like lifestyle that can help reduce the effect of the genetic variant, then we can amplify those. The genetic variant will still exist, but will not lead to cleft because it's modulated by environmental factors. So that's the future that we're looking for. Well, we're not there yet.
Okay, sir, we've spoken extensively about your career and what you do, sir. And I know you're a very fun guy, so I'm about to ask questions on the fun aspects of it. So how do you maintain a work-life balance? And do you have any personal experiences or hobbies that influence your approach to research and teaching? And do you have any sports that you do or sports that you watch?
Yeah, so first, I read a lot, and I read a lot of biographies, the life of others. So the best way to learn is to learn from other people's mistakes, not your own mistake, because you might not have a second chance to do it right. So I read a lot of biographies, and one of the ones I read that influenced my life is Ride of a Lifetime. The guy, Bob Iger, the former MD of Disney. You guys should go read the book. And I enjoyed the way he took his challenges from just being a room, just like a media person in the room, to becoming head of Disney, to working with the guy that owned Apple, Steve Jobs, and he was one of those that worked with Steve Jobs to get movies on the pod, as well as music on the pod. Wonderful guy. Read the book. It's 200 pages. It doesn't take much. Okay?
Yes, sir.
That's one. I read a lot of biographies. I also read this guy's biography too. What's his name? Jim Ovia.
Yes.
After I finished his book, I started like Barry Multimedia. He didn't do anything fantastic, and I was like, so. And as soon as I finished with it, I always had the idea of starting a media company. When I finished, and I realized what did he do? He only made the move. he didn't wait for everything to be ready. So I made the movie for Agbari. Agbari has failed several, but Agbari is still there. But I finally found a niche for Agbari, and that niche is what we are going with. And what we are doing in Agbari is, instead of doing everything, I've invested in movies. Even through Agbari, I started. I'm working. Have you guys heard of Tade Ogidon?
Tade Ogidon, yeah, Tade Ogidon.
I have a movie that I'm part of as one of the executive producers that Tade is producing. I put money in there through Agbari because I realized I can't produce movies for that. I did 2 movies which are on YouTube. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, I know one of
Yeah, I wrote those movies myself. I write stories in my spare time. I've written 5 movies. They produced 2. I have 3 more. I have an epic that started from Oshogbo that will end up in the CRISPR lab. It's about sickle cell story. It's a personal story. It's my life story. My mom, starting from my grandmother to my daughter. And that story is in the park right now. In fact, if I'm able to seal the end of the deal, which is a CRISPR company in the US called Vertex, they're the only missing link. We're still talking to bring that Vertex part of CRISPR, because they have a molecule, CRISPR-mediated molecule for treat sickle cell. But if we get it into it, the story is complete, going to production. It's going to cost about $1 billion to produce that movie.
Wow.
So, and this is just me using my passion and my hobby of reading and writing. I write a lot. I read a lot. I have a movie that I wrote, Obìnrin. It was supposed to be produced in 2020. COVID hit. That movie is still there. I paid the producers everything. I was supposed to shoot in London and Lagos. So, hobby, I love to write. In fact, I have a movie that I'm writing right now. It's about paternity testing, using my knowledge of DNA and all that. It's like comical. Jide Kosoko is on the cast and all that. It's there. I've never produced it. Then I play a lot of table tennis. I use that to really get myself cardio. I play table tennis Fridays, Wednesdays and Fridays, 2 hours complete. I play 10 games. Growing up as a kid, I had 2 table tennis, but I was what the people call onile. You know what they call onile? So people come to my house to play, and I organize competitions during summer holidays. You pay 10 naira. So you can see how. So then what else for relaxing? I throw parties a lot. So the thing is, growing up, because my birthday is the last in my family, 28th of December. So my father was using my birthday as an end-of-year party. So and I did that until I was 18. I got tired. Every year, I got tired of having parties. When I got to Medilag, I didn't do any birthday party for myself. I was even doing it for my wife. In fact, our first party, 21st birthday, I did it for Medilag before we graduated. Yeah.
Proper Kbite. I said that's a proper Kbite.
I tried the first party in Medilag, and it was in our room, the room parties,
yes.
But the whole corridor. So then I started down throwing parties for my kids, but I refused them throwing parties for me. So when I was going to turn 40, my wife and my daughter were planning for me. But me, I already bought ticket to go to Mecca because I told God I was going to come to Hajj
on my
40th. And I went to Hajj.
And they were planning for you.
So when I came back, I said, we should continue life. And that's how we. But my wife's 40th, I told her we were going to go for a conference in London, which we went for. But I was already planning a birthday party for her, 150 guests in London.
Wow.
And it was a surprise party for her.
Wow.
So that's how much I planned party. Ojifti was the event planner in London. I told her she was going for a photo shoot. We got to the hall. She opened it. She started crying. And so so that's how I used to go to Klub with my friends, clinicians, maybe once a month. But I stopped when my dental students started hitting my bum. Professor Butali. I just told my friend, I said, we can't come back to the club again. And that's how I stopped going to the club. This was in 2014. I didn't go to clubs since then. But I still relax, I hang out. Now in Nigeria, I have 2 locations I go to. If I'm in Nigeria for a week, if it has a Thursday, I'm at the Lagoon on Ozumbamba. They have the best seafood in Lagos. It's by the Lagoon, but people don't know. And they've been there for almost 42 years.
Wow.
Yeah, Lagoon restaurant. Just next door to Radisson on Ozumba. So I go there on Thursdays. It starts about 5 and then we leave at 8. I have a group of friends that will go. If I have a Thursday within my visit, and if it's 2 Thursdays, I'm there. In fact, we cancelled yesterday because I was too tired. I told them after the event yesterday, I just texted everybody that so we should do 26th, which is next week Thursday. So that's kind of person I am. So I'm a very loyal person to something. So another thing about me is in medical school I used to write on my notebook. I wrote repetition is the secret of learning. So it's not only repetition for learning. I do the same activities until I get my results. People get tired. There's something I do on Tuesdays. You know that now. Thankful Tuesday. People started training with me. They dropped out. And I started that in 2019. This is my 6th year. And when I don't post on time, maybe because I'm distracted, people call me.
You've not posted Thankful Tuesday.
People call me. They send me a message that you've not posted. I'm like, you to post the same thing. It's not like your own. You want to read your own. And it's on Instagram, Facebook, and my WhatsApp status. And the following for Equality and for Thankful Tuesday, it's over 1,000 people.
Wow.
If I want to monetize it, I'll be making money. But that's one of my philosophy, consistency. You have to do it until you get the results and the pleasure. And it becomes value. And when this value stays. Mm-hmm. All right? So I don't know if I've answered your question. I've taken you around.
Yes,
and there are so many learning points from things you've mentioned, and the one of consistency and repetition actually hits the most. I think there's so many. I don't think there's a way to achieve success in things without being intentional about being consistent to get there. So you did mention dancing as one of the things you do.
Yeah.
Prof dances very well.
Yeah, I dance to relax. And my kids love to see me dance. They usually mock me. And sometimes if there's a dance routine, they want us to do it together. I do that with my kids. Shake your body. I did that with them in Dubai. That was in Dubai, the one we did last. That was when it came out, around that December. I did that, and we had a family vacation in Dubai that time. So I'm very trendy.
Yeah.
If there's a song that comes out tonight, I will know. These are my daughter sends it to me, or my sisters or my brother. They know that I'm very on top of it. And again, I'm very close to the movie industry. I'm a member of the Association of Movie Producers of Nigeria. Card carrying member. I pay my dues. My company is registered. I'm on the platform. Wow. All these artists, musicians, I have access to them. So I get information. I was one of those that encouraged them to get health insurance, which they did. But they just keep complaining that they're raising money for hospital. I think Nigeria has gotten health insurance. Now they just finally got one for the movie producers, Reliance Insurance.
That's amazing.
So again, one lesson for you guys: your best friends should not be doctors. Otherwise, you're going to be very poor. Let me just be honest with you.
Learning points.
Your best friends should not be doctors. I just told you that I go to Lagoon. I don't go there with medical doctors. One of my friends that I go there with is the group GMD of Sterling Bank, Agro and Finance. The other guy is a SAN, SAN. He's even going to come tonight for the dinner. And the other guy is a real estate agent. He's a lawyer, but he moved into real estate. And the lady amongst us, she's an international businesswoman. She sells and buys planes and helicopters. So those are the kind of people you should be making friends with. Your friends, doctors are colleagues. They're not your best friends. Otherwise, all of you are going to be poor. And one of my friends just got his banking license. The only reason I'm not on his board as one of the directors is because of conflict of interest with the University of Iowa. But with time, I might come in as a non-executive director. So those are the kind of people. So again, that's what KB Klub gives you, because Professor Shiru, I learned that from him.
Yes.
All his best friends are not doctors. And he's on the board of so many companies. Professor David Remy Pierce, after retiring as CMD in his mid-60s, spent another 30 years in his second career having one of the best tourist sites in Nigeria, Whispering Palms. That's not an hospital. The tourist destination. That was a full-time job for him for 30 years. Even Obasanjo went there as soon as he left prison. Your best friend shouldn't be doctors. He didn't do that because he knew what to do. He did that because he was mingling with the right people, not kilo. That's the first thing. So if you think you're working too hard, it won't kill you. One, that's two. Know what you want. I knew what I wanted. Even to the extent of the wife I was going to marry, I didn't waste time. I didn't cut my wife for long before I told her I was going to marry her, because I wanted to get that out of the way. There's some things you don't want to waste your time on. So be very, very strategic in terms of your outcomes. I also knew I wanted to become a professor. I told you they were already calling me professor in school. So opportunities came, I kept exploring, I also knew I was going to do business. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs. My father is an entrepreneur. He owned his own companies. My mom had, what you call pepper mill? Do you know what they grind pepper?
Right.
People think it's a stupid business, right? But my mom shaped it in a different way. She had a place where everything was labeled, egusi session, pepper, tomatoes, and all that. And people were like, how would this man's wife be doing this kind of business? But my mom knew that she could do it differently. Till today, that place has been existing for 44 years. My mom's pepper mill is in Sulere there. Now, my mom is in America, but she gets paid every month. So she had done the calculation that, so the person she gave it to pays her about 400,000 every month.
Wow.
And everything is all set up. We have a maintenance team. Even anything is at fault, the guy will just dial. They come to do the maintenance. We have a replacement team. The parts, spare parts, people that sell the paper, they bring it to this place. Now we also have fit farm session. You know what called fit farm? Turmeric people. And these young people that do turmeric, they requested, my mom bought brand new 2 machines for them, and they labeled it fit farm session. So she's following the trends of the time. She's on YouTube all the time, watching you, and sometimes she orders a machine from China. So I knew I was going to be an entrepreneur because I worked for my mom every holiday until I got to medical school. The only time when I stopped in medical school was when a friend yabbed that Mama Shola, a doctor on Lotani. That's when I stopped. But each time I was going there, I was learning something. You work for my mom Monday to Saturday. Whatever you make on Sunday is yours. I mean, she's paying you on Sunday. But for you to get paid on Sunday, you have to work Monday to Saturday. And I still practice it. In my business now, I don't pay salary. I pay commission. So everybody working for me gets their own commission from the work they do. And I give them 50% of the earnings. I put 100% of the capital, but the profit we share 50-50. So that means if you steal me, the business will fail. You won't make money, I won't make money. And then you will have a job. Me, I still have a job. I'm a professor. So it's me, I'm giving you an opportunity. And that's how my business runs in Nigeria. When people say, in America, your business is... No, because I don't pay salary. Everybody that works for me is a partner. So if you fail the business, you fail yourself.
That's brilliant. Hard work doesn't kill. Know what you want. Be strategic.
Go for it.
And go
ready
for
to
it.
fail. Because if you don't want to fail, you don't want to learn.
You don't want to learn.
So it's up to you.
You don't have to, like you also mentioned, you don't necessarily have to fail. You don't necessarily have to fail. You can learn from
other people. But if you want to learn from others, you have to read. Or watch or listen to stories. And another thing I do at my spare time is I watch a lot of TED Talks. People tell personal stories on TED Talks. So yeah.
So sir, your career, your life, it exemplifies you've broken grounds. You are currently blazing trails, and in this interview, and I'm sure it's a thought you currently had in yourself, is that you said you reached the peak of your career quite early, and you are currently looking at exploring new grounds, and all of these things fit into the theme of this year's edition of Beddyfield, which is Kaizen, describing and celebrating excellence, seeing excellence, and recognizing what forms heroes, what forms people at their pinnacle. So what does Kaizen, that's getting to the top, how do you see it, and how does it translate into what you put into your professional life and your career and your life as a person?
Yeah, so the first thing if I think about Kaizen, I think about values and ethics. Ethics are values that are consistent. I mean, so if you're doing something that is worthwhile, that attracts respect, and is fulfilling and rewarding, and you're doing them consistently, you get the value you want. So actors having consistent values. And the challenge with that is when you now get to the top, how do you stay at the top? So to stay at the top is you ask yourself, what took you to that place? Don't throw those things away. Then where I am now is, how do I redefine myself to get to the next point? That's why I said I'm looking for new challenges. And in looking for new challenges, you need to equip yourself. That's why I went back to school, to get those leadership skills. I have experiential knowledge, but I don't have certificate to show. So I went to get the certificate. So always ask yourself, what are the tools I need to get what I want? Go equip yourself. You can't complain. Who's going to listen? So except you don't need it, then you leave it. If you need it, you can look for the solution. Right? I told you I might get a law degree, not because I want to go to the courts, but because there's some things in the legal arena that you can only get if you go to law school. It takes 3 years to go to law school in America, and I'm going to do it part-time. But I know what I want in that program. I want to be able to understand some legal framework for me to be a strong advocate. Because I'm not thinking about going to politics, but I might get dragged into it. But advocacy, I'm still there. Diplomacy, I'm there. You know, maybe one day I could be a vice chancellor. Maybe one day I could be a university president. You know, so what do I need to be successful in those areas? So I've thought about them, and the only degree that is missing in my degree is a law degree. Well, I told myself I'll keep getting certification, but if I don't get a law degree, I'm not going to get another degree again. I don't want MBA. I don't need MBA because I've gotten a certificate in leadership, and I have entrepreneurship certificates, so many of them. What do they want to teach me MBA? The only thing I don't have in MBA that I have that is in MBA is accounting. And I don't need accounting. I can always hire an accountant. So if you don't do everything, you delegate. So I know how to delegate. But that law I want it because that will help me with some framework. But if I don't get it, it's not the end. I have an alternative strategy for that. Okay?
Yes.
So to answer, I don't know if I've answered your question, but consistency is important. Value creation is important. And continuous improvement, yeah. And if you ask people in business, they tell you if you create value, money will follow value. If you don't have value, money will not come.
Very true.
So I think for me those are the key words.
Very true.
So it has been a very beautiful and enlightening interview. Like very beautiful. So is there any parting words for our readers and for everyone that is going to watch this interview, sir?
Oh well, for our readers, for those that will be watching this interview, I'll just tell you that one, know what you want. The only person that can determine how much you can go is you. And don't compare yourself, because the only comparison you should do is with yourself of yesterday and tomorrow with yourself of today. Once you're able to do that, you see continuous improvement. That's one. Two, be consistent. Don't start and stop and think there's another solution, then you do that, start and stop. How do you measure growth? No. So be consistent, then learn to create value. If you create value, so many things will follow value. Then finally, be committed to believe that everything you're doing as an act of worship. I don't play with my commitment to God's calling and all that. Because at the end of the day, you might wish for everything. If God says it's not for you, it won't happen. It will never happen. So I also make sure that I commit everything I do to God's hands. And whatever outcome I get, I just say, Allah. That's how God wanted it. And when things don't happen for me, I take a step back and I reevaluate and I move on. And I've failed a lot in life, and I've told you, I've given you guys an example of how I had to take a class again. Tomorrow my kids always tell me I'm telling them a lie because I want them to be serious, that I took a class again in elementary school. That how can you have it all, you're smart. But for me, it was a life-defining moment. And that's how life is. You know, failures are going to come, even in business. June 19, 2021, I lost over 100 million naira. My fish farm in Djibouti they opened the dam, Oya Dam, without informing us to dredge the Oya River. Washed all the fish away, valued at 100 million. Myself and Dr. Alausa, Life Kbite, we had big fish farm in Djibouti. We lost everything. Mine was valued about over 100. His own is almost 200 million because he started before me. But that wasn't the end. We just, sucked it in, redefined. I've invested in startups in Africa, so people know them. They don't run with my money, but we're still at it. But, again, do things that you enjoy. I enjoy giving back. I enjoy creating wealth. I enjoy supporting young minds. I enjoy mentoring. I don't believe there's any useless person. I just believe that one is either the person hasn't gotten opportunities, or they don't have resources, or they don't have the network or the chance to get heard. And because I've experienced all of those, I try to listen to people. And some of the people I listen to, they found their way to my lab. People like Wahid Abimbola that just graduated contacted me on LinkedIn. I never knew her from anywhere. And she came to my lab. Emmanuel came through my lab through Isikwe. Mojidlo Sola came to my lab through my Oga at General Hospital I worked with, who knew what I wanted, and Mojid was at General Hospital as one of the MOs. I said, this girl, you're very good though. There's a guy in America that is my boy. And he just emailed me, and that's how she found her way. So again, just open yourself to opportunities and learn to fail, and learn from the failures, and then learn from others. And then read. Not necessarily read as much as others, but read something. Add something. Make sure every day has something that you've done, and leave the rest to God. All right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It's been a very, very brilliant conversation with you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And I must say, personally, I've learned a lot. And I'm very sure our readers of this magazine and also the viewers of this interview as well will be delighted to have these in their hands. And I'm sure it's going to be a learning point, as it is for me currently. So thank you very much, sir. KB.
So now we've come to the end of the interview. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.